Hello and welcome to CRATV, where we talk about politics, policy, and politicians, all from a conservative perspective, right here in the great state of California. So please take a moment, like and share the program, and encourage your friends to do the same. Remember, you can watch us either on YouTube or on Facebook, or now you can watch us on Rumble. But whatever you do, please make sure that you watch us. Once again, encourage your friends to do the same. And if you, by the way, if you make sure on both YouTube and on Facebook, if you hit the alert button, it'll send you the alerts as soon as the program goes live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. Moving right along. By the way, CRA is a membership organization. We are California's largest and fastest growing conservative grassroots organization in the state. We work to elect like-minded conservatives, those who believe in the Second Amendment, those who believe in free markets, those who believe in limited government, those who believe in the right to life. That's us. Those are the folks that we work with and work for and try to get into public office. Because, folks, it's not just about winning the office, it's about governing. It's about making sure that you do what you can to support those values. So, if those are the values that you support, please take a moment. Follow the link in the description to this video and become a member today. We have chapters up and down the state of California, so trust me, I'm sure that there's a local chapter near you who would love to have you as a member. Also want to remind you, we work very, very hard on trying to make sure that you know about the key legislation that is going to be taking place, that is going to be affecting our lives here in California. And there is a key piece of legislation. It is Assembly Bill 2223. It's up for a hearing next week. So we need you guys to get out there. We need you guys to come out and oppose this bill. In essence, what this bill will do is provides legal protections for infanticide. I know that sounds crazy, but hey, we are in California, and this is the California legislature. So read more details about the bill. If you follow the Take Action link in the description to this video, you will be able to read more about the bill, you'll be able to get details, and you'll be able to send a personalized message to the folks who are about to be voting on this particular piece of legislation. But folks, the only way that happens is if you get involved now, if you follow that link and you get involved now. So please take a moment, follow that link, and take action and make your voice heard on this legislation today. All right, let's get on with it. You know that a little over a week ago, I'm pretty sure, a little over a week ago, we held, the California Republican Assembly held our endorsing convention. And while we were there, we took action and endorsed a number of candidates, a number of statewide candidates, the folks who we believe will best represent our values should they get elected to statewide office. And as we know, in California, there is no position that is more important than that of governor, as we are currently saddled with Gavin Newsom, the tyrannical governor from San Francisco. Folks, he needs to be replaced. And the candidate who will be replacing him is with us today, and that is Rae Le Roux. Please welcome her to the program. Jenny, how are we doing today?
So glad to be here. Can't wait to share some of my vision and what we're going to do to turn California around. I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of hope for the state.
You know, I've had a chance to enjoy hearing you speak a couple of times now, in particular at both at the recall election endorsement convention as well as at this convention. And you seem to have a very, very practical, common sense, really kind of a citizen's view with a vision that matches the needs of the average everyday citizen. Do us a favor, first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your vision for California should you be elected governor.
Sure. So just about me, I'm a businesswoman. I've been in business for 20 years, owned a business for the last 10 years. That business is a tech-enabled services company, and we serve about 1.3 million customers all over the world. The company is successful and thriving. I'm a mom. I have 3 little boys. The 2 oldest are in public school. They're in a Spanish immersion charter school, and that school has given me a vision both for what we can do in our state with school creativity and also an understanding of some of the challenges that public school parents face. And then finally, I am an entrepreneur. So I've started companies, I've built companies, I've grown them. I've got an MBA from Columbia Business School and a bachelor in economics. So I have a lot of great ideas, but probably most importantly, I have successfully built organizations because I've established great culture. So we're going to talk today about ideas, but I also want to make sure that we address what we need to do in the culture of California to change around what has happened and what we want to build for the future instead.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say, it says a lot of you that you made it out of Columbia University as a are still a conservative. I know that is not always the case.
Not at all. Columbia is not known for espousing particularly conservative ideals, but it did put me in a position to share a lot of my message with people in a way that resonated. And, I shared a little bit about this at the convention, but, when we share about things like my pro-life values, I think it's really essential that we don't say what we're against, but what we're for. I'm for women thriving as parents in all kinds of different environments. And that's a really different message. And that was what saved the lives of babies when I was in college from women that decided to keep their kids. And the same I feel for business. If we talk about what's terrible about how the government treats business or even bad about business, we're less likely to honor businesses. But if we talk about what businesses bring to culture, to community, to the advancement of the kind of places that we want to live, then we're going to more likely honor businesses. And so, it was an interesting environment to be in at Columbia, but a wonderful place for me to be able to share my values. And what better preparation for the state of California than a place like Columbia University?
Most definitely. So let's start. Here's my question. So we're dealing in an environment where you have a governor who wants to talk about, who claims that the economy is thriving, but the reality is we've lost hundreds, if not thousands, of small businesses up and down the state, and they are literally the driving engine. Our state is the last state when it comes to coming out of the unemployment issue, which, by the way, is largely tied to small businesses. What are some of your ideas to bring back the fire of small business and make it easier for people to either restart their business, grow their small business, or to just start a new business, small business in California?
Well, for the over 100 businesses that I've either advised or been an owner for, it's a pretty simple answer. You look at what's working in other places and you do that. And in California, it's not working. We lost 1% of our population in the last 2 years. So people are leaving the state. And that was after 170 consecutive years of growth. And any CEO in that kind of position in the private sector gets fired. So that's what we're going to do for Newsom this fall. What do you do to change around what happens for small businesses? Well, number one, you partner with them instead of punishing them. And right now we're punishing our businesses mainly through over-regulation and over-feeing the business. So we charge $800 to license a business in California every year. New York State charges $9 versus $800. So for businesses that don't have to be in a physical location, why would you pick California? We need to bring those rates competitively down. We also need to make sure that our customer service levels are actually appropriate in the state. Right now, if you call someone at the Secretary of State's office, good luck. 6 months later, if at all, you're going to hear something back. We need better use of technology, streamlined services, and a more customer service focus. Even things like our EDD department, $30 billion in potential fraud, $20 billion in confirmed fraud that we lost through the EDD could have been patched with a $1 million technology update through the EDD at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, these are crazy things that it either takes incompetence or malicious intent to not do when you're the leader of a state like California. And so I will not rule with those core values. I'm going to rule with the possibility that anything can be done and also with the knowledge that it must in order to preserve our business culture here.
All right. Well, I knew that would be a softball question for you, seeing as with the background and the success you've had as a business leader in the state of California. Let's tackle one that's a little bit harder, and let's start
Sure.
talking about crime in the state of California. You know that starting with our former Attorney General Kamala Harris, We began here in the state of California the process of decriminalizing crime, then letting criminals out on the streets, and then referring to it as smart on crime. And lo and behold, we're surprised when crime goes up. What are some ideas you have in terms of helping to address the crime wave? And I really cannot think of it a better way to describe it throughout in California is in fact a crime wave that is a multi-year crime wave that has taken over our state. What are some ideas you have to address that?
Well, first of all, it's really telling that when you declassify crime, one of the things that should happen is that it should look like in the statistics that you have less crime, right? That's one of the reasons why somebody would do that, is they would be able to then claim that crime is going down. So it's telling that when we declassified crime, things like $950 no longer being a criminal offense if you steal it, then what we saw instead is actually an increase in crime rates. So not only did we remove the crime from the numbers, but even the ones that are left were higher in the rates. So 40% increases across our major cities in violent crime. And I just did a viral video actually when I stepped off of the airplane in San Jose and went to get my rental car there. I noticed that there was a sign outside that basically said, it's your fault if you leave anything valuable, even in the trunk of your car. Somebody is going to steal it. And it was this notice for me that just struck me for a moment, because I thought, oh my goodness, people who come here from other places that are safe have to be reminded that when they come to California, they will become a victim of crime. And this is an absolutely insane situation. So we need to repeal Prop 47, which the legislature has not been willing to do. We need to increase the capacity of our prisons. We need to focus our metrics on prisoner rehabilitation and workforce reentry. And we need to do that in a 2022, 2023, 2024 model, which means that we need to train people for trades and for technology, the two T's, trades and technology. That's the future of California. That's the future of our workforce. And so instead of what we've done, which has been a really crazy focus instead on issues like just, closing down prisons that are training people for fire crews, what we need to do is actually reorganize those programs and invest in them again.
Well, so in other words, you mean enforce the law? That is such a new concept.
Weird, right?
I've never heard that before. You must be from
Yeah.
you must be from some weird flyover state or something, because that they don't talk about that in California. That's a new concept, I guess. I yeah.
Well, who doesn't talk about it is our legislature. Who does talk about it is every California citizen, right? Everybody who can't leave their car outside, everybody who's worried about walking down a street safely at night, anybody who's seen a video in their neighborhood of something getting stolen from a Ring camera, we're all the ones that worry about it. That's going to be one of the leading issues in this election.
Well, it's funny because I've spent time before both the Senate and the Assembly public safety committees, and I can tell you that public safety is the last thing on their minds. The safety of our families, the safety of our children, which by the way leads me to my next question. Obviously, whether it's the Democratic Party, the teachers unions, or the educrats, they have jumped the shark in that they believe that parents have absolutely no say, or should have absolutely no say, in what their children are learning in school. So we see things like sexually inappropriate lesson plans. We see things like critical race theory, and we see these things. We see the funding in our public schools. We see that even though they're getting more and more money, they seem to be getting less and less in terms of instruction from teachers. And then at the same time, demanding more and more money, watching administrations get larger and larger. All right, you've fixed businesses that are having problems. How do you fix the biggest business that we're dealing with in California, which is our educational system?
Yeah. Biggest line item in our budget is our education system, most important key to our future. And no question about it, the education system needs to be reimagined. California ranks somewhere in the bottom 10 in the nation every year for our educational outcomes. We used to be number one, not even in the top 10, number one. That's where we should be, no questions asked. So number one is that we have to champion school choice. I have my kids in a charter school because I have a better trust in what the charters are going to do, because if they don't do a great job serving parents in the community, the parents move out of the charter school and they, by nature, lose their funding. And that competitiveness is part of what I love about business. It's what I love about thriving culture, thriving communities, and that's what we need to see in our schools. So championing school choice is number one. The second one is I did some digging to figure out where this curricular development is coming from. It probably won't surprise you, but it shocked me when I first found out that over 50% of the people on our curriculum board in California are from one county. You want to guess which one it is?
I'm going to say San Francisco or Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's Los Angeles County, right? And we have 58 counties in the state of California. So this curriculum board is also represented, the people that are represented there, the majority are non-parents. So you have two factors that are leading us to crazy philosophy being brought into our schools. So what do you have to do? You have to localize control, one of the core tenets of my conservative beliefs, which means that you bring it down to the community, the school board, or even the individual school level for curricular choice. And you make sure that the curriculum board is better representative of the people in California. And I personally think that they all should be educators and or educators as parents.
Well, it's funny. I sit on a local school board here in Sacramento. I have done so for 17 years. And the interesting thing is we don't have as much control in California as I think a lot of people believe that school boards have. We do have some control, but a lot of the things that people come to and are complaining about at the school district level is largely based on policy that comes from the state. And you look at people who are making these curriculum, it's the funniest thing. And I've read a number of books. Great book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Communism. One of the things you find is that Marxists and communists pretty much, when they decided that they were going to start, they wanted to start the indoctrination process, they started by taking over the departments of education. One of the chief departments of education was Columbia University. You'd be surprised how many Marxists come out of the education department there in Columbia University. It is in fact
I'm
crazy.
not surprised. We had a lot of conversations about these things.
Yeah, but I think you're 100% correct when it comes to local control, allowing local school districts to set the priorities in their schools, to decide what is best and what will work within their communities. And that, by the way, is in coordination with parents. Parents need to know, especially when, if you look at, of all the statistics out there, the number one determiner of student success is parental involvement. Funny how that works, huh?
Amazing. And it's kind of one of those things that just, again, right, slaps you in the face. Of course it is. Of course it is. But why would we create a school system that doesn't only move the decisions out of the parents' hands into the school's hands, but into the state's hands? That's nothing short of insanity. And it won't lead to anything good. It hasn't so far, and it won't lead to anything good.
Okay, so one big one there's also a pretty big one with CRA has to do with the Second Amendment. The interesting thing is you see that Attorney General Rob Bonta, as well as the governor, are looking at the increase in crime, and all they seem to want to focus on is guns, guns, guns. Now, mind you, gun laws have not gotten any easier in the state of California, but yet we still see an increase in crime. And their answer in addressing the increase in crime is more gun laws. What's your perspective on California's current gun laws, and what would they look like under a Le Roux administration?
Craig, we are so far beyond common sense in our gun laws today that I don't trust them to do anything that is anything close to common sense in the future. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. When I looked at this issue, I'm a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. I think it's one of our critical constitutional rights. It's very clear, written in there, right, shall not be infringed. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Very clear. But what we're seeing in California is laws like, if you're buying your second gun, your third gun, or your fifth gun, you have the same waiting period, even if you already have a gun in hand. That doesn't make any sense. What is that waiting period for, right? And so there are a lot of things that need to be rolled back. But more importantly, really one of my main jobs is just going to be the adult in the room to say no to new laws that are coming out. And I verified this by going to a place where I usually get some great information, which is from our law enforcement officials, which, by the way, I'm also publicly and openly supportive of our law enforcement officials. Anybody who lays down their life for other people, I'm behind them 100% of the way. And so I asked them, what do you think about the gun control laws? And they said, what we think is that they do everything to harm good citizens and nothing to harm bad actors. Somebody wants to get a gun, they'll get it another way. And so there is political posturing without any actual policy benefit from any one of these gun laws that have come through the legislature and any of the new ones that would come. So I cannot imagine a law that I would sign or put my name to while I'm in office right now.
Okay. Are there any specific issues that we haven't discussed that you wanted to make sure that the members at the California Republican Assembly or conservatives in California as a whole knew about you or about your goals as governor?
You bet. Well, you've touched on a couple of them. Really, I have three parts of my platform. One is crime and homelessness. So I'll talk about homelessness super briefly. The second is schools, which we covered. And the third is power, infrastructure, and water. And I want to just talk about that one a little bit because it represents something that is, I believe, a conservative value, that good government is limited, but it does focus on public goods. So let me just talk about those two things, about infrastructure and about homelessness. Homelessness first, right? We spend right now on average about $800,000 per person who is homeless on the streets of California. And Gavin Newsom's plan has been create new programs, spend more money. That doesn't work for a fiscal conservative, but honestly, for someone who's a compassionate Christian, it shouldn't work either, because we're not actually doing anything beneficial for the homeless or for the communities that they're in. And so I've been traveling the state to seek out homeless solutions that are both affordable and compassionate and community based. And I think that we have a couple of them in the state that we could expand very easily. In fact, in under 2 years, we could house the unhoused homeless with treatment offerings such as drug treatment and mental health treatment and job programs. And we would move away from what Newsom focuses on, which is permanent housing, which means that somebody for the rest of their life would be in government assistance housing, to transitional housing, where the purpose is societal reentry. And that's really the only way that we're going to address the root issues for homelessness. So I have a full plan for homelessness, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows I'm on it, I'm focused on it, and there are absolutely cost-effective and compassionate ways to address it. The other piece is power, water, wildfire, and other infrastructure issues. Look, Newsom has done absolutely everything to dismantle the infrastructure in our state, and he's called it his war for climate change. What it's actually done is no impact on the environment, but a tremendous amount of impact on our families and on our societies. And I'll just tell you what that looks like. Today, we consume the same amount of oil that we did 10 years ago. But we have transitioned increasingly to foreign oil because for some reason in his crazy mind, it makes more sense for us to get our oil from a place like Russia or Saudi Arabia and then burn it in California than it does for California to produce our own oil. For water, Newsom has decided that hydroelectric plants and nuclear do not fit inside his green energy plan. Well, the problem with that is that both of them are very low emission, very cost effective, and completely paid for. And so instead, he's proposing to spend new money on worse technology. It's the height of arrogance when you think about something like that. Water is another thing, right? We left our dams open in our rainy season of December this year. And I live on a farm. We have a dam on our farm, and we just closed the gates during the rainy season. Instead of letting the water run out, we kept them closed. We filled our lake. And then we said, if it rains a bunch more, then we'll let some of the water out a little bit later. Well, they did exactly the opposite in the state. And water management is abysmal. It is short-sighted. It's not data-driven. And it's really hijacked by environmental issues. And so again, what we need in all of these things are two pieces working together. One is a long-term plan, and the second is the commitment by a leader to get things done that are good for the people of California. We have more than enough money in the California budget to do both infrastructure and to address homelessness without spending any more of people's people's hard-earned dollars. So just to let everybody know, there is a way for us to drive hope for the future in California, not just to bring us back to a place of lower insanity, but to actually advance what we want to see for our future communities.
Well, I'll tell you, there are two aspects. I think one in each of the areas you were just talking about. When you're talking about homelessness, I don't believe that there is any effectively addressing the homelessness issue without addressing the issue of drug addiction. I've seen study after study in every major city where they've done it, and they found that somewhere between 80 to 90% of those who are chronically homeless are drug addicted. Now, we don't know if the drug addiction led to them being homeless, or as a result of their being homeless, they turned to drugs and are now addicted. But that's got to be a part of any plan when it comes to dealing with and addressing homelessness. And then when it comes to infrastructure,
in fact, I don't know if you know this, but I just found it out yesterday. I toured a hospital in an area that is primarily served. It serves Medi-Cal patients and some Medicare patients. So I toured it yesterday. I found this out, that if someone is homeless, they can go to the hospital, claim one of two reasons to kind of get to the front of the line. They can be in a bed in the hospital, and then for the hospital to discharge them, they have to pay to place them in a shelter or in another home. The hospital itself is responsible for that, for them to discharge them. And we don't have any capacity in our drug abuse rehabilitation programs for that kind of option. So you'll see people that basically remain in hospitals for 10, 20, 30 days without getting the kind of treatment that they really need, because there is no capacity in those centers. So we need to address the root cause of the issue, not on permanent housing, like Newsom is focusing on, but on actual rehabilitation.
Well, most definitely. And finally, what's your position on nuclear power?
Yeah, I'm pro-nuclear power. It's cost effective. It's incredibly low emission. We have the Diablo Canyon power plant that is already paid for in California. We have new nuclear that is more effective. And so, I'm not only pro-nuclear power, I'm pro all kinds of power. I'm pro-natural gas. Natural gas is also tremendously low emission, and natural gas helped us move really from coal to a cleaner form of technology. And so we have a lot of complexities in our power system, but anything that can be switched on when we have higher needs of power, anything that's cost effective, and anything that traditionally will move us into a lower polluting zone, the combination of those things is what I look for power. But my starting point is not the right kind of power. My starting point is more than enough power, and nuclear can be a piece of helping us get there.
Excellent. How can folks find out more about your campaign, support you? How do they follow you?
Yeah, so you can find out more about us at JennyRaeCA.com. So JennyRaeCA.com. You can find us at that same handle, Jenny Rae CA, at all of the major media platforms, social media, TikTok, etc. And you can reach out to us directly if you want to do one of the following things. If you want to volunteer for the campaign, we would love to have your help. If you want to share your story with us, then you can send us an email about that. If you want to host an event for us in any city around California, either on Zoom or in person, you can invite us to that event. And if you want to donate, you can also do it at any of those links. We would love to have your support. I am fully believing that Gavin Newsom has a very short tenure as the governor of California, and that all of the nightmares that he has created in office are things that we can begin to reverse on day one of my governorship.
Excellent. Jenny Rae, thank you so much for coming on the program, and thank you for so much for stepping up to the plate and being willing to take on the monster that is Sacramento, California. I live here in the belly of the beast, so I know what it's like here, and I just want to say how much I appreciate all the energy, effort, and the fact that you are campaigning very, very hard, and I very much appreciate all that you're putting in. And I think the folks here at the California Republican Assembly are so proud and happy to be able to support you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for what you do, and we're all in this together. We're really building the kind of future that we want to see. And this is going to take not just California, but America behind us to get this done. And we've seen America come to the party before. We're going to see it again this election cycle. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Really great to meet you.
Everyone, Rae Le Roux, candidate, conservative candidate, CRA endorsed candidate for governor in the great state of California. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to be it for this episode of CRATV. I hope you folks enjoyed it and had a good time. Do us a favor. Please remember, like, share, and subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. With that, we'll be back at you next week, so please make sure to tune in. Once again, encourage your friends to do the same.